when training, we have to make sure that we connect the muscle to the movement. Any exercise that you're doing, whether you're doing back, for instance, in deadlift, make sure that you're focused on using the right muscles. That way you're building those muscles consciously. You're not just trying to pick the weight up. That's how injuries happen. Take your time, get set, focus, and connect. The point of this is not to think of the end result. The point of it is to get through the journey. Like, it's the work that we're gonna get into. So we're not doing it, and every time we finish a set, we look at our traps or we look at our muscles and be like, oh, look at my chest. That's not the point of it. Ah, look at me. That's not the point of it. The point of it is to know that this workout builds the next workout and builds the next workout. You want to have goals. You got to set the goals. You got to know what you want. And if you want to achieve those goals, you got to be consistent. Always, always be consistent. This one builds the next one, builds the next one, builds the next one. It's not going to happen in 6 months. This ain't an 8-minute quick abs. This is the difference between success and failure. This isn't, I'm not trying to get your money. Give me $100,000 and I'll train you and give you the body you want. And then what? This is about a lifestyle. So if you want to get the goals that you want, change your lifestyle. Y'all gonna notice y'all getting your cardio in too. Let me know when y'all start breathing heavy. Let's go. 25. We almost done. Nah. Let's go. Keep working. 3, 2, 1. Stop. There we go.
Hi, Josh.
Josh, you wearing what it do, boo?
I was dying to meet you. I feel like you're like a celebrity.
True. I dig your weirdness. I want some more of it. I want to see more of it. I want to feel more of it.
Oh my God.
Welcome to the Josh Waring podcast. We appreciate you listening. Merci.
Popping it in, I'm going all in. Talking about me when she with her friends. Said when she with me, she loving that shit. When she with me, can't get enough of it. Popping it in, I'm going all in. Talking about me when she with her friends. Said when she with me, she loving that shit. Shorty got me brainless. Hey, and I don't understand it. Hey, shorty got me brainless. Hey, and I don't understand it. Hey, I don't know. Yeah.
All right, guys, welcome to another live episode of SMV Radio. We have an amazing show in store for everyone. But first, I just wanted to give a special shout out to our boy KG, who is doing his thing training wise, virtually and in person now, because we're opening back up as a country. So if you're ready for summer, but only if you're really ready, because KG only works with people who's really, really, really ready. Not just like, oh, I think I might be ready and let me waste somebody's time. Nah, because out of respect, he's not going to waste his time because he doesn't want to waste your time. So only when you're ready, hit up KG, because at Team, Fit Fam, every day and every way, we get better and better. That's just what we do. And that was a pretty damn good intro. Nice job, Josh. And we also have Big Mike and KG in the building. What up, fellas?
What's going on?
What's good, guys? How you guys doing?
All right. What's up, Big Mike?
Can't complain. Another week, man. Another day. So.
Yo, Josh, that was a hell of an intro. I appreciate that. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Because, here at Poetic Charm, we also want to help men in all areas of their life, not just with the ladies, but it kind of just happens when you have this type of mentality of improving every single day, learning new things like fitness, things like health, is kind of all aligned with where you're going and your purpose. So that's always important.
Agreed, 100%. 100%.
Absolutely. And I also wanted to thank everyone for joining us this evening. I appreciate it, because you could be anywhere else in the world, but my favorite rapper said it the best. You're here with us, and we really appreciate that. So in addition, I also noticed a little bit of housekeeping here. I noticed that we had over, let's say, 300 views for the past couple shows, all combined, right?
Right.
But then not a lot of likes. So I'm like, guys, if you're watching the show, please like the video, because that actually helps with the algorithm to help it promote it to, on the homepage. And obviously, if you think anyone else would be interested in this conversation, please share it with your friends. We would appreciate that. So without further ado, gentlemen, we're going to go into ranking women. And the first question I ask you, gentlemen, is, are rankings bad?
They're bad for conversation.
What up, Kiana?
Key, what's up?
What's up, Key? Go ahead. Continue, KG. Since you already started.
I think that rankings are bad for conversation, right? Regardless of what the ranking is, if the ranking is high, we're not gonna give it a number, right? That's relative. If her ranking is high, I don't necessarily want to tell that. And if her ranking is low, but she has additional value, I don't really want to tell that either. That ranking is really it's not for them to know. It doesn't benefit their life in any way.
Interesting. And we have Little Mermaid in the comments saying, oh man, comments about to be lit. Okay. Go ahead, Big Mike.
So the question, just general, how do we feel about ranking itself?
Well, we have a couple of questions on the topic, but the first one is, are rankings bad in general from your perspective?
They're definitely new, because I didn't really see rankings, years before and whatnot. But I think they're more, I think if you are ranking, it's more amongst yourselves, like you as a group in a barbershop or whatever and stuff like that. I don't think you would like tell the girl to her face or in her group or whatever, you're a 6, you're an 8, you're a 9 and stuff like that. I think everybody's got their own preferences. So your 7 may be my 10. You know what I'm saying? So it depends on what you like. Now I know you got other questions that kind of go, against that. So I'll wait for it to come. But I think they can be bad if you're actually using that to determine this is why I'm not going to date you, like to her face, stuff like that. Answer your question.
I think that you make a good point in that the rankings, like I said, like they're not to be shared with women. I don't really see a benefit to that. Like there's no such thing as bro code anymore, like because that got exposed and then it got like weird and wrapped into some other stuff. So there's no more bro code. So as an individual, I think you rank. Of course you rank. But it's not a topic of discussion, but it's a very real thing. And like I said, I don't think that Key said it's childish. I think it's like closing your eyes when you sneeze. You just kind of do it by mistake. Like it's just like, you first meet her, she's, and then things come together and it don't matter, right? But initially, you rank it. Like you compare it to this or to that or to where you want it to be or how much you're settling. All of that is part of ranking. I just don't think you should make it a part of your relationship.
Well, I know Josh gonna get into some other stuff, like I said, a little bit, but I think ranking is individual. Like it's what you feel like the woman is and whatnot.
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and me and my friend, I don't know about you and your friend, me and my friends, we don't say like she's a number. If I'm like, yo, how she look, he like, nah, she kind of right, or she bad, or whatever like that. We don't really give numbers or whatnot, but everybody does something differently. So
no, I think what you're saying is pretty accurate, right? But at the same time, like you said, everybody's different. So if your man, like your man's he like him a certain type of way, you be like, oh nah, she bad. That don't mean she bad.
Right.
Because like you said, like, oh, he like, what type of stuff he be on. You know what I mean? Nah, she bad, but like, oh yeah, I know what that means. But it's still, I think it's like the grading system. Are we saying we're not ranking it? I think we do. We may not say she's a 6 or she's a 3. You know what I'm saying? But it's no different than kids in school. They get A's and B's. Like it plugs into your mind some way, but there's no benefit, in my opinion, that I've ever seen to verbalize it. But it happens instinctually.
We agree on that, because I think, especially if you still want to deal with her, right? Like, even though you rank her a certain way, you may still like her, but all you're doing is killing her confidence now. But you still trying to be with her.
That's why I said it's no benefit to telling them. Like, yo, what do you think I am? Like, that's childish. Yeah, I'm saying? I want to talk about that. You know what I mean? But the fact of the matter is that if you're interested in him, you automatically rank them in some capacity.
Absolutely. And that's a wonderful point that both you gentlemen bring up, as does Key in the comments, right? Because they are subjective, but I feel like at the core, they are meant to be objective. So hear me out on this. So on a previous Poetic Charm that I was listening to, it was me, Big Mike, and Tony Stark Jr. And we were discussing how in dating in our different age groups, let's say casual dating or just dating in general has progressed over the years. So when towards the let's say the end of Big Mike's development and for the majority of Tony Stark Jr., the aspect of fellatio was really a non-starter. But when I was growing up at a certain age group, then it was like it's standard stuff type of thing. So I feel like it kind of progresses. And even with the grading and ranking system, I feel for me, it started before things like social media, before online dating, when you didn't really have a photo to show someone. So like, okay, how would you assess their beauty? So then you had the ranking system, and that ranking system correlates with, let's say, celebrities in real life. Not that women should aspire to be celebrities, but just for an objective person that we can see in real time and assess the attractiveness on a universal scale.
That's a very that you put that very well. I can't disagree with that at all.
But
yeah,
again,
I think in a comparative nature, right? I mean, I guess that's what ranking is, right? So, like you said, if you compare them to, let's say, celebrities or whoever, I mean, everyone, I guess, is a certain number, I guess. So I definitely see what your point is there and whatnot. But like KG said, I think there's no benefit. Like once again, and it's something that we do. But I think if we do, as I said, like individual. Like,
Yo, I also think that to your point, like fact, there's like two scales, right? So like when we talk about it, if we're really gonna think about it, we agree with it even if we don't verbalize it, right? So you say, all right, your man's like him a certain type of way, right? So that's his scale, right? That's his scale as an individual.
Right.
There's also an agreeable universal scale, fact, right? So it's like that's your speed, but in general, like she's this number, but you like him like this. So for you, this is that. That exists.
Agreed.
We can agree like, hey, oh yeah, she bad, but as a whole, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think that's so important because you guys got into it naturally, which I love about this conversation, because you assessed it with different words. It didn't necessarily have to be a number. These were adjectives and attributes and things that, as you said, certain people hold more valuable. But again, you understand, you have that context to be like, okay, when that person says that, it's this. So when you're conceptualizing the appearance, you're putting it on your own. You're I guess you're adjusting their scale versus the universal scale. That's why I think the universal scale is so important, because this is a better way for the sexes to communicate, because we communicate in completely different ways. As we've all agreed, men and women are not equal. We are different, and that's awesome. And I think we should do better at being ourselves, initially, like in terms of your intuition. I think that's more important.
Well, let me ask you a question. Sorry, KG. Does the universal scale matter as much for that woman if the person that she's pursuing sees her on the other scale? He sees her as a 10 or a 9, or not even a universally, she might be a 6 or a 5.
I think it depends on the woman, right? Because some women look like flat out can't take compliments, or they were used to being treated or talked to a certain way. Now you're treating and talking to her a way that she always wanted, but she's not accustomed to. There's an adjustment that she has to go through. I don't even think it matters. You follow what I'm saying? Like, I feel like she's going to feel about herself however she feels about herself until you help her feel better. That's my take on it. But what I thought about was like, I don't know if it matters as much for women as it does for men, right? I think both we find loopholes because there are intrinsic qualities that we may like about somebody. Maybe they're not tall as we want, or maybe they're not the weight that we want them to be, or they don't dress this type of way or hair or whatever have you, right? But they have intrinsic value that you're like, oh well, if I didn't know them, I wouldn't deal with them. But because I know them, I know things that other people won't right out see. Does that make sense?
Yeah, this makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess what I was trying to say is that like the most important compliment should come from your spouse, right? Significant other, right? That's what it should come from. Now, obviously,
It should come from yourself,
right? Well, yeah, okay, it should come from yourself first, but secondly, from the person that you want to hear from should be the significant other, obviously. Well, what it should once again, but I feel like when you get to ones who want it from the outside, that's when that universal scale is high, weighs more than the scale that I'm looking at you as, stuff like that.
Yo, Key says the universal scale shouldn't matter if he or she is top tier to you.
Correct.
Why you don't have to? All right, you guys correct me. I don't care. You guys do what you do. How about this? They don't have to be top tier. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm choosing to be with who I'm choosing to be with. Does that mean that I think that they're the best thing under the sun? That they're a 10? It's not a requirement. And I how about this? I see a lot of people's relationships. It's not a requirement. You know what I'm saying? Everybody does what they want to do.
No.
And
I agree with you because there's many reasons why we could be together. So I agree with you. They don't have to be top tier. Yeah,
like, all right, I look at you on a universal scale. You're a 4 on a universal scale, right? But then it's like, does it matter? No, it doesn't matter, but it's still a thing.
Okay.
It doesn't matter, but it's still a thing. But I don't have to think you're amazing for me to deal with you because of what I'm looking for, what I want, or what I prefer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That's facts. Big Mike, you want to read out that comment?
Yeah. It says, my kid, she says, I think ranking matters more to men because y'all are more visual beings.
Also, fact. And Key says, everyone wants arm candy, eye candy. Let me be clear about that. Absolutely. This is why the universal ranking scale is important, because it can be arm candy to you, but if you're expecting a certain response from wherever you're going and they don't agree with that, oh, that's arm candy. And then they can even be like, hey, I think you could do better. Then what are you going to do?
That's true. I mean, I definitely have had friends like show me women that they're dating and stuff like that, or in their phone. They like, yeah, yo, blah, blah, blah. They think she's bad. I'm like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm like,
not the high pitch, okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's the FOH. Yeah, I know that.
But I'm really looking at the girl like, I mean, I'm happy for you, bro. Like, that's how I feel. So I get,
Yeah, if you like it, I love it. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
So wait. They were saying that they disagreed about, I think, ranking matters more. So wait, now I'm confused because Key said that ranking doesn't matter, but now she's implying that it has more value for women than men.
Which is interesting.
It's very interesting.
And I think it might correlate to the next question I'll ask you, gentlemen. I think this is a fair question because usually when it comes to the universal ranking scale, this is always a topic for the ladies to bring up. And the question is, would men have the same rankings without the European standard of beauty, right? Some women in our community will allege that if they promoted women who were perhaps obese or, different type of, perhaps not as attractive, not an attractive young lady, right? On magazine covers, men would desire them more than athletic, fit, slim, and beautiful and toned women.
If it was the 5th, we'd all be drunk.
We're here to that.
I mean, I say that to say I don't disagree with her, but I mean, that's the same thing with everything, right?
And Key says, no, I'm not saying that at all, KG. I stand by what I said, but that doesn't mean that the women don't rank men. I just said ranking shouldn't matter. Okay.
Does it though?
I think today it matters more than ever. I will say that.
But all right, so bust it, right? So check this out. She's a 3. A universal 3. 3. She's a 3. Right? But she do everything that you want her to do.
Friends.
Like you have never experienced whatever she do. Coitus, like she caught you slipping one night and you knocked off a 3 and it blew your socks off.
Or for you, she made you an excellent meal because you know how do you feel about that.
Make something to eat.
That's interesting.
Now, she's a consistent 3. But when the things that she does, you know how that 80-20 rule, that 20, now, you know, they do stuff that you like because you like it. She doing it because she flat out into the same thing. No cap, right? She it's give you don't even, it ain't like it's all, and you like, what is this 3?
But I said this on another show. Like you can't.
Right, at what point in your life does it matter how much is that trumpet?
Okay, so let me say 2 things. One, I agree with you. I think the fact that she's a 3, the other stuff will trump it. But when you said what point of your life, I think age does play a part in that. So I think the older you get, the other stuff will trump the fact that she's a universal 3. I make sure you put that on there. Universal 3.
Hold on. So I would challenge that because remember, I'm saying she does whatever you didn't get, right? So say you're younger, but you couldn't get no cheeks. She's a 3, but she giving you everything. And you're like, yo, you can't get it. I'm giving you an example. You can always pick apart an example, right?
No, that's not my point. I got it. I will encounter that or whatever like that. You know, and Josh's gonna agree with me because when you're younger, you care more about what the other people say about your universal 3. Right. So even though you're getting the chicks you wasn't getting, when you walk her down the street or bring her around your friends, whatever like that, it hits you harder than when you're older and stuff like that.
I mean, because I know some family members that, and not even necessarily mine, but also mine as well, that would say, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Right.
What are you doing with our genes, literally, right?
Listen, I swear to God, my grandma right now.
Are you feeling all right, son? You okay?
No. You know what happens? You turn into like, oh, that's what you into.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? And that's your preference.
My grandma not too long ago talking about my cousin and stuff like that. He was like, yeah, she was like, yeah, she a good girl and all, you know, like her. She work hard, but man, she ugly. He couldn't get nobody else. And she good girl. Whatever like that. And I said, well, man, maybe he like her like grandma. She was like, but I mean, he can get somebody else.
And Claudia says, "There's a competition out here. You got to know your strengths and weaknesses because that's part of self-awareness." Absolutely, aka rank or your SMV value, if you will.
Yeah, but they don't know, bro. I really don't think that they move in a way that they're aware of their real rank. I think that it would impact their confidence tremendously if they knew what their actual universal ranking was, and they wouldn't be able to just be.
Absolutely, and you know what throws it into what stops the balance for them and equating themselves is when those situations that you just talked about, KG. If someone, let's say, who's an 8, picks out that 3 for all those things and makes a logical decision, then that distorts it. Kind of puts a fabric in the matrix, if you will. This distorts reality for them.
What about like a Butterface though?
Which definitely exists.
That's the thing.
I'm
just like for argument's sake.
But how do you rank that though?
How do I rank it, or how
overall
is it ranked?
But see, that's a wonderful question. That's the question.
That's real spill, though, right?
That's why the universal scale for me is so important, because then you're assessing how people rate certain attributes, so mind, body, spirit type of thing. So if let's say she is a butterhead, but usually butterheads, they have a chip on their shoulder, so they gonna live in the gym. So their face might be a 3, but their body would be an 8 or a 9, right?
So you're making up to do and they know it, bro.
Absolutely. So if she's a 3 facially, let's say, and on the universal scale, hypothetically, right? And hypothetically on the universal scale, just for argument's sake, let's say she's a 9. Just like, whoa, okay, right? With that 3 face, then it's just, then you, as a gentleman, we all know you got to make that logical decision. Like,
But what's her overall ranking at that point? That's my question.
Well, I mean, you got to do the math, bro. Like if she a 9 in the body and a 3 in the face, you're 6, baby.
Okay.
and with everything KG saying, right, with that 3 who has a lot of high quality, means a sloppy toppy and things like that.
Playing hard ball,
she might go up a
bro.
little bit, like a 7. Okay, I got you.
Wake up like, did she put strawberries in the pancakes? You know what I'm saying?
You're in school, bro.
And Claude just says, damn, Mike, Granny getting snitched on. Damn.
I love my grandma. She don't play though.
Right. Max KG, because men are used to rejection and women are used to coddling 1000%. However, if they aren't real at some point, they're going to end up alone because they will have these delusions, unfortunately. They won't have accurate reality. And at the Butterface, don't be mad if your kids end up a little funny looking and mad at you.
Now, kids, and now things are getting a little different. You know what I mean? We ain't saying about the kids, but it's possible, man. Sometimes 2 ugly people make attractive kids, man. You don't know.
They absolutely do. And to our one of our previous topics where we talked about body enhancements and how not a lot of times, but times where, let's say, 2 people meet each other and the man meets the woman after she's gotten something like a nose job and they live happily ever after, blah, 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 have kids and all that. And then the kids meet with different noses. And he's like, what in the world? Where is this coming from?
What happened to the baby? What happened to the baby?
Right. But also, and we'll get into this later, right? Things like that will make you think that the child is not yours, which is very important as men.
We'll get into that later. Like you said. That's all that. Yeah.
For me, bro, I feel like, yeah, like so we get into that later. Like that's another whole nother approach. But ranking, it has some value, right? It doesn't make, if you make your decisions banked off just purely ranking 100%, you're shallow as fuck anyway. It doesn't, you don't really count in this category, right? Mm-hmm. But it does have some value.
Immense value. I would say value to power the economy.
Power the economy?
That was extreme. I thought that was it. So wait, you think ranking is essential?
Not essential. I would say essential for the economy, which is why it exists. So, okay. All right. So let's say in terms of demographics and marketing, the main, let's say, target audience is usually women because they are the most prolific consumers in humankind. It's the reality.
Oh, I get it. So yeah, it makes sense, huh?
Because at first I was like, I'm not sure where we going with this.
And that's fair. Yeah. Absolutely.
But he's right, because the makeup industry is what, $1 trillion industry, stuff like that.
Yeah, but then when you think about it, like it's so much poison in that, not to get off topic.
But it's true.
Like, you just create, like you're pushing a culture of comparison, which steals so many people's value. You know what I mean? So many people's confidence, all in the love of money. You know what I'm saying? Like you almost got to relearn what you like, because if you start caring about what people expect or look for or compare to, you got to go through that, then come out of that and relearn what you like. Like, I think that's why we talk about things like, well, it depends on your age, because generally, when you're younger, you care so much about what other people think. That's the trajectory that you start to follow. And then hopefully at some point in your life, early as possible, you realize, wait a second, this ain't it. I'm going to do what I want to do. And then that's when you start to have more value and experiences that, you know, that last longer. But you do have fun the other way too. I'm not gonna hold you.
Absolutely. And Claude says the crazy part is ranking is more valuable for women. I agree. Yet we don't know where truly we rank as far as relationships go. Sex ranking scale is what women use versus relationship based scale. And that's 1,000%, which is how that 3 can sneak in.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. So
based off, they got skills. Yeah.
You know, which is weird, right? If you look at how strange that is because men want sex before anything else. Women want like commitment and monogamy before sex and emotion. They want the emotion first. But if by this basis, this is saying that if a dude is really putting his thing down, then she'll rock with him. But if he's not, then she won't. But is that real?
Yeah, because that's the whole thing with toxic D come from, right? Because they stay in the relationships with the guy because he's putting his thing down or whatever you're saying, even though it can be toxic and whatnot. That's definitely real.
I guess.
I mean, but to KG's point, is it though? If it's just based upon coitus, or from the opposite, if it's just
no, it's not real. I thought he meant it exists when he says it's real. I'm like,
yeah, bro. Like it's a lot of bodies out here, no souls. But I was just thinking more in like a more common, realistic perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not a real connection. No, not at all.
And Key says, yes, it's very real. And Claudius says, I'm saying women based the rankings based off of a man will have sex with them. Okay. That's very interesting, which could lead to those delusions. As we talked about last week, if an 8 gets with a hypothetical, use this one, 3, then the 3 is going to be like, oh, I can get 8. And if I put some more work in, I might be able to get a 9, getting cocky with it. Like, I got that. Hence the plastic surgery and makeup. Absolutely, because we talked about makeup plenty of times on the show. And how many women who don't need makeup use up way too much makeup? And if it's so much makeup that men notice, that's too much makeup.
Listen, this is confusing as hell, right? So, so if they're getting their bodies done for the attention of men, so that they know if men find them attractive where they rank, and they don't like the attention, then how is this? I don't see how this is making sense. Like if like women like they don't like, hey, you don't like being catcalled or Googled over, like you know what I'm saying? Like
that's old, bro. They like that stuff now. Like that's they like that. They like that attention. I'm telling you, like they that's old. Like they want those likes or views or online or in person. Like they want to be looked at. They wear 6-inch heels and tight dresses to go do office work. Why? Because they want that attention and whatnot. That's
from the high value man. Absolutely.
Correct.
And that's the difference, because that's the difference with because KG, you're not wrong. It's just that if it's someone they don't deem as attractive on their subjective scale,
that's exactly what Chloe just said,
or universal scale, right?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like that doesn't make sense. It's like fishing with a big net and then complaining about the fish that you catch in the net. Be like, that's like, bro, like I don't understand.
No, but listen, the plastic surgery, weight loss surgery, makeup. So by them, and for them, that's making the net smaller to them, right? So they feel like now that I've gotten these things done, listen to me, I got these things done. Now I can attract this certain man, and I'm not going to attract these other men I don't want anymore. This is why they get these things done to them and whatnot. So that 3 who got these things done to them is now like, I should be able to get me a 9 or 10 now. And anybody under that, they won't look in that direction anymore because they had these things done.
Wow.
And I'm talking from like actually having these conversations with the woman who had either weight loss or plastic surgery and was like, and she literally was like, nah, like, I feel, and it's a friend of mine, but she was like, I feel like I can get a guy like this now, and I don't want no other guy.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And cheese with the word of the day, validation, right? Yeah, some women crave that attention and validation. I mean, it's tenfold, especially with the digital age. Claudius says it also comes with the perks. Being pretty gets you more. Duh. Little Mermaid agrees and says, again, it's about the attention. The complaining gets the attention as well. I agree as well, which is why I think
I didn't think about that.
The feminist industry is where it is now, because in terms of the agenda, because even though, again, if you're rational, you can see things that, okay, both men and women have their issues, but they also have a lot of positives. But I feel like it's trying to prevent men and women from coming together sometimes by having people do things that long term may not give them happiness. Short term it will, and that's what it kind of preaches, right? It preaches that short-term gratification, and again, which helps the community. Excuse me, the economy. That filters into the economy.
This is such a terrible place to live.
That's fact.
It really is, man. It really is.
LP in the building. Okay, true.
Wow. I mean, I can't really disagree with what you guys are saying. I didn't know that. I guess it's not that I didn't know it. I guess I didn't really give it enough thought. I didn't care. You know what I mean? If they're getting their bodies done and they're like, "Oh, I only want this now," like,
oh yeah, they that yes, it's definitely it'll change that whole thing up.
Absolutely. And one thing that we kind of scraped the topic on, but didn't really get into it. I mean, how severely does the rankings matter if she has over triple digits of bodies?
That's a KG question. Go ahead.
Yo, so all right, so let's do it like this, right? So she got her body done, right? Put up premium dollar, or somebody did, and got her body done, right? Now she's looking at a certain type of dude, right? Bro, like she's a high-end used car. They're gonna have miles on them. But people who buy high-end used cars don't keep them for a long time. So with that said, don't care if she got miles on it because you're not keeping it.
I certainly echo that.
I don't think it makes a difference how many. You don't even ask that question. You're not there for a long time. You're there for a good time. It's not a conversation you have. So I would say no, it doesn't matter.
I agree. Anything that's going to be short term, you definitely don't. I mean, I'll ask regardless, you know me, but definitely you don't care at that point. Like if you're there, because honestly, like you want to have that experience with her. Maybe her experience that she didn't have might be better for you because you only want it for a short period of time, regardless of whatnot.
Bro, you just bought it's 2021. You bought a 2018 7 Series. You should not have that car in 3 years.
No,
you know what I'm saying? It ain't.
Now it's 6 years old.
There's gonna be a new body out. You gotta do something else.
Correct.
That's my point. Like if you're doing that, it's just an example that popped in my head. If you're doing that, you don't care. You're not in it for the long term. So that's the thing. Is like that's why I said it's a sick place to live. I get it. Like it drives the economy, but when you get caught up in it, what is that woman left with? Right? She fucks off the whole time. Excuse my language. And what does she think she gonna get married? Like, what's your plan, dog?
That's the plan. Like the plan is listen to me. The plan is I'm investing in my future. So by them investing in the body, right, and all that stuff they do, now the plan is I'm going to attract this high value man, right, make it this amount of money because he likes what I look like now, and I'm going to get married. That is the plan, right?
Right, but everybody wants to go to the league, B. Everybody's going to the NBA.
I get it.
It's just not a good. You follow what I'm saying? Unless you're like elite, bro, don't even play, bro.
Right, and I think that goes into what Chloe was saying earlier with the coddling, because no one's telling them the truth. Like, okay, you'll have this short-term attention in this small window, especially with plastic surgery. It's a very narrow window. You're narrowing the window, in fact, with plastic surgery.
Unless you unless you're gonna be in the playing in the D League. If you're lucky, maybe you could play overseas. It's not gonna end well in most cases.
Nah, they're gonna be wrecked.
Well, the other part, like you said, just like the league, you're competing against hundreds of thousands of millions of people for these same, let's say, what is it, the 10th percentile, right? Of men.
20% of men date 80% of women, and then you start separating it by high value. Like it's a small group.
Correct, but they feel like by doing these things, they're putting their hat in the ring, at least, or whatever like that. And I feel like that's what they're doing. But again, they're not. The problem is that what you're saying, it is they get in these short-term things, and then but they're still continuing the same cycle because they've mentally said, "I can't settle for less," especially after changing who they were at 3 to now what she thinks is that 10 by getting her body done. That's what I mean.
Listen, I don't got no problem with the bodies getting done. Do what makes you happy. You know what I'm saying? I don't care.
I never did either. I'm just letting you know, like their standards change along with their with the surgery. The moment they leave surgery, their standard for what they will then change at that point.
Yeah, I mean, listening to it, like I hear it, but I don't have patience for that. Like even thinking about it is exhausting. Like, but that's a loophole, man. You could get around that. That shit ain't that's real stuff.
And Clovis says everyone wants to go to the league and then they end up at LA Fitness Open Gym. They still happy unless they are losing there too.
You win some, you lose some. You know what I'm saying?
But that's part of the reality check. So if they get, okay, so when you get plastic surgery, you actually get psychological counseling to make sure you're all right. So you have the best chance of thriving and surviving after, because that's the goal, right? Mm-hmm. Dr. Maxwell Maltz, he kind of epitomized this, which is fantastic. However, unless you're telling them the truth, like potentially because of these alterations, certain men that you would deem as high value may not desire you long term. And see if they make the same decision, because let's be honest, they're making the decision based upon getting that attention from that specific gentleman or group of gentlemen, that rare group. So my next question, and you guys already answered it, people in the comments answered it, was, do women rank themselves accurately? And I think no, because they don't use the universal scale.
Hell no. I don't remember that direct question. No is the answer.
I agree, but you said
they don't know how. There's no way that they could rank themselves properly. How? And if they do, you're like, that's weird. You know what I'm saying? Something's going on. Because a 4 usually don't know that they're 4.
Well, I got a question. Do women actually rank themselves? That's what I guess you're saying that they do, right?
Yeah.
And women in the comments,
they rank themselves. I think they rank themselves as how they are and how they want to be, not necessarily on a universal scale or realistic scale.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay. So yeah. Okay. I get that. Yeah. Because everybody
this is how I am. That's how I want to be, and then they meet somewhere in the middle. That's their ranking for themselves.
Right. But I think what Josh alluded to, like the amount of confidence that certain women do have in themselves, and universally they may be that 4 or that whatever like that, and they can walk like, listen, I'm a 10. I don't care what nobody say. Blah blah blah. So I do feel like some women, who if they are ranking themselves, definitely don't. You know, most of the time the confidence is going to go over logic, right, and go over what you're actually viewing and stuff like that and whatnot.
So you're saying that they would rank themselves higher or lower?
Higher most of the time because they're confident in themselves.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of women who give off the energy that they rank themselves higher. They think that way. But like when you start to know, like women got tails, you know what I'm saying? You could just see it a lot of times. I read the book a million times. You know what I mean? Like you don't believe that. And you could just tell, like when you real, it's real, male or female, real, recognize real. I believe that 100%. And sometimes I could just see it, be like, nah, that ain't. You're not that. You want to be that. Rank themselves based on how they feel.
And Chloe on the same page tonight.
Absolutely. Chloe just says women rank themselves based on how they feel. It's all about confidence and emotions.
But that goes like this, bro. That don't stay.
Right. That's
emotions are up and down.
Absolutely. Because time is that ultimate number that makes it fluctuate. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What was the last response, Josh? You didn't read it, so then.
And Claude also said how men respond to them, thus the inflated numbers, because they be smashing 9s and just smashing, right? No long term, unless you're that lucky 3.
That happens too. The guys who sneak out 2 in the morning and go smash a 3. Who, if he is a 9 or whatever like that, she now thinks, you know what, I'm getting 9s, whatever like that. You know what I'm saying? So,
I got it like that.
right. But again, he not taking you out to dinner or whatnot, but because they smash him, it changes her confidence. So I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean?
What about this? Like, this is something interesting, right? So they get smashed by whatever a 9 is, right? So then now when they're dealing with 6s, They're like, oh no. They get smashed by 9, so a 6 needs to go do this, they need to do this beforehand. And then the 6s do it. And it fucks up the whole system.
Yes.
The whole system is smoked because you were being selfish. Stick to the code. There's no more code.
I think the system is messed up by the 9, not the 6 in that case. I think because the 9 is the one who's sneakily smashing the 3, right? In this scenario and whatnot. And he's the one who's boosting her head up more than what it is.
I disagree.
I strongly disagree, Miguel. I understand where you're coming from, but it's the simple act of sneaking, right? Because there's a reason why he's consciously going out of his way not to show you around in person.
Bro, at the end of the day, when you're 9, you can do whatever you want down, right?
But
if
you don't think that...
Think about this. If you're 9, anything you want to do from 8 down, you can do whatever you want to do. You got to work from 9 up.
Okay. But you don't think that's not for his part, but you don't think that's changing her confidence level, what she is? Because she don't see what you're seeing, Josh. You see the sneaking part. She don't see that. She see the guys coming over, you know what I mean? Whatever happened. I'm not saying like, but he's willing to come do this with me. That's all she sees.
Right. But the problem is that she's validated to move how she moves when 6s do all of this extra stuff. To get you follow what I mean?
Yeah.
And Chloe says it's the 9's fault. I agree, Mike.
Thank you.
Which is interesting, but as Josh, a person who fully believes in personal responsibility and accountability, so you can be self-aware to make well-informed decisions.
My man.
If you are a 9 and you, let's say, smash that 3 in this case, let's just say, what logically in her brain makes her think that, knowing how society is? And she knows, because women are, they're innately,
of course they know, bro.
They know. So you're consciously choosing to have cognitive dissonance. That's your decision. That's not my decision. And your bad decision is going to lead you to a life of misery. Unfortunately, that's a bad decision.
It was bad for the smash or bad for the taking for more to
bad for someone to believe in delusions. That's not logical, and that's not how men are, but that's how women are, as we talk about with the emotions. But again, thankfully, there's an abundance of logical women probably in this chat right now, which is great. However, for the most part, I would say 50+1, even though it's probably 75 to 80, women are typically highly emotional, and they do not make logical decisions, especially when those emotions are heightened if they are triggered.
Bro, let's look at it from the animal kingdom, right? If the lion's at the top of the food chain, you telling me the lion can't eat any food it want? Any food it want, bro.
Bro, I'm not saying that. But first of all, I'm not saying he can't eat any food. But why is he when he can get better food, right? Why is he eating rats and rodents when he can go get a zebra, right? He can get that because he's a lion. So why is he doing that? That's my point.
Hey, you never had a bad night, Mike.
Mike, we acting like we never had a bad night. Now,
of course we have.
Come on, that's reality. That's part of being a guy and a girl. If we're being honest,
the thing is that when you're a winner, you still win. You still close.
But okay, just like you said, take accountability, Josh. We don't know how she's gonna feel about this though. Like as the guy. Like if you
care,
huh?
You don't care. That's not what you're there for,
right? But also that was the energy, right? That was the honest energy that she got, the authenticity. So there was no ambiguity, and it was very direct. Right.
I could see the 9 being wrong, being non-accountable if they was in there selling dreams. Like, listen, booby. You the one. Now, if it's on that type of time, 100% it's the 9. If bro pulling up and pulling off, think whatever.
I mean, it's okay if it's that maybe, but like Cole said in this comment right here, they chill in public too sometimes, bro. It'd be more than just sometimes a late night creep spot.
Okay, and that's fair, but I would also say I think we agreed before that that's sometimes sending the wrong message. However, even if it is in public, I still said what I said. That didn't change. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like that. But they're used to people communicating in a way that is disingenuous. So that leads to negative decisions and bad decisions.
No, sometimes you got to go out and get a Patron margarita. You don't want to just have a pre-made one at the house, bro. Like,
I got you. My whole thing is that like it's building her confidence or whatever, right? Because she's getting attention from the 9. That's the point. Any attention that she's getting, because in the beginning, let's start from the beginning, right? She don't think she will get any attention from this 9, right, at all, and whatnot. As this 9 starts to, first of all, he ain't just say let's go smash tonight. He probably flirted with her, got her number or whatever, and then it became that smashing relationship. But throughout the attention she was getting, it started building her confidence more and more. Wow, this guy's giving me attention. That's what's changing her scale. Now you said, KG, she then goes to a 6, and because of her time with the 9, she's gonna make the 6 work harder. Like, yo, you only a 6, so you gotta work harder to get me. I think because he worked harder, it's his fault. Like I said, I'm talking about the originator, the originator. I'm gonna go back to the 9, and I say like I think it is fault. So, but you know. Everybody's
interesting because I feel like women use the same logic and apply that to the D game, which is interesting.
Boom. Bro, you cannot blame a winner for winning. You follow what I'm saying? What I'm saying is that 6 has already known you shouldn't. If you do this, this leads to this, right? It's not going to benefit the 6. What that 3
what he did was wrong too. Like he fucked up too, by the way.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the game, right?
Yeah.
The 9 is following the rules. The 6 is making his life more difficult. That doesn't impact the 9. It doesn't matter, bro.
The 9 in this case setting 6 up for failure because he's the one who boosted her head up to make her think she's better than what she was.
Oh no, I disagree, Miguel, because long term,
the 6 did that.
The long
6
term
is the one that confirmed it. Stop it. Stop it.
That's confirmed it. Who started it though?
It was gonna happen anyway. It's part of the economy. Yo, stick to your guns, B. You know, yo, what are you doing? He's like, yo, this is all like, look, this 6, see a 3, it's moving like an 8, and he, you know what I'm saying? One time for my LA and one time for the 2. No, come on, son.
Thank you, KG. In addition to that, this is why I feel like this podcast is so important because certain men at a certain age, they don't understand and know their value in the market. So, okay, you could be a 6 now, but in a couple years of hard work, you yourself can be a 9.
Fact.
So again, unless you're only going to use that 3 that the 9 got for target practice as well, similar to the 9, that's the only way you're going to become a 9 by doing things that the 9 does.
I mean, that I agree with. Or whatever. I think they both fucked up, honestly. 6 and the 9. But you know what I mean? We just have different interpretations of fucked up.
Hold on, Mike. The 6 is messed up. The 9 is messed up. Where's the accountability for the 3?
Thank you.
How is she just affected by
because
everything?
Y'all came in her world, right, and made her feel better than what she was. Not y'all two, but the 6 and the 9.
Fuck? Oh no!
But she didn't get any attention, right? But from a 3, since she's a 3, that she wouldn't start feeling like she's better than what she is, or whatever. Am I wrong or right?
You are wrong.
Yeah.
What? Why would she know better?
No. Again, Mike, that person who's a 3, they have to understand reality.
That's it, bro.
But would they understand better if only a 3 gave them attention? If they're a 3.
Well, that's what happened until the 9 contacted them. No. So it's okay. So for me, that's an isolated incident. That doesn't mean, oh my gosh, my world has changed forever, and you didn't do anything different. That's illogical. Matter of fact, let me get somebody with some logic in here. Fresh Banks is in.
Banks in the building. What's going on?
Yo, what's up, man?
Yo, Banks. No cap. Do you rank ladies from, let's say, hypothetically 1 to 10? Or
yeah.
In general, yeah.
Yeah.
Since
why not? Why not?
Do you tell them what their rank is?
No, I don't. Unless they want to know. But if they want to know, I will.
You'll tell them the truth?
I give them like I do give a disclosure. I was like, I'm like, listen, I'm the worst person to ask my opinion on something because I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But I always warn them. I'm like, do you really want to know? Because I don't think you do.
Yo,
So
do you notice a difference after if you have to give if you're gonna be dead honest, right? And you
yeah.
gotta give them their number, and their number ain't. You know if they think what their number is, right? And their number
Mhm.
is usually not what they think it is. When you deliver that news, right?
Mhm.
Is there a shift? Do you notice a shift? Sometimes it's a physical. You could see like a. You know what I'm saying? Is it
Oh,
just me?
that's when reality hits.
That's reality. Because
You
those
know,
sixes.
I had a conversation. I think when it comes to that, I don't think when it comes to women, they don't really stick to the realistic approach. And I do think even when they look at magazines, models, all the fixtures that they put, when it comes to uh, what is that called, the filters and all that. I honestly do think in their head they may know what their actual number is, but just because of, I guess, self-esteem or whatever, I guess the emotional aspect of actually saying it, they're not going to do it. But when somebody else actually addresses it, it's just like World War One. Like, wow, I can't believe you said that. Why would you do that?
That's very
But
So it's
but
almost like you're saying that when they say tell them the truth, they don't necessarily want the truth.
No, they don't.
exactly.
Because you
I
can't handle the truth.
Right, because I think I had an example uh, years ago when somebody told me that, at least to me, they were like, "Can you just like be soft with your approach?" Hence, lie. That's all that was. Like, you don't have to be so direct. Can you just be soft in regards to how you say certain things? And I was like, "Oh, you want me to lie?"
Yo, it's like what happens is if you do it that way, you could still deliver your message, but one, it's exhausting, right? It's not sustainable, but two, like I may not be able to explain I won't say it the same way. You know what I mean? If you ask somebody, does your breath stink? And they say it's not the freshest, well, does it stink or not? You still haven't figured that out. You follow what I'm saying? So I prefer the direct approach, but that's not a very people don't want to receive it that way. I guess it's like it's American culture, I guess. It's like, you're supposed to be your way.
And I think I don't even think that's like American culture. I think it's just women in general. And the reason why I say that, I learned this when I was younger from my mom and my aunt. They don't like each other. And I realized how women could set each other up for failure. I remember my mom was buying glasses and my aunt was helping her. And she picked a pair of frames for her and she put them on. My mom's like, "Oh, how they look?" And she's like, "Oh, they look great. You look amazing. Where's the photographer? You could
Set
run
up.
the like literally setting up for failure." But my aunt was jealous of like the accolades my mom has like accomplished in comparison to her. And I'm looking at her like, what the hell is she talking about? These frames look crazy. So my mom pulls me to the side and asks like, "What you think about these?" I'm like, "Put those back." No, there's nothing here even in the store that would match your style. It just doesn't make sense. But that's when I knew that small indication because she looked at her and like you could feel like she was like telling her the truth, like, "Oh yeah, this is great," like selling her dreams. And this is a woman to woman, but she was BSing her. Like these, I'm like, nah. Mm-mm. But women have, I feel like it's like a give or take. Sometimes it could be more of of a softer approach, like they may not want to be as direct, or sometimes it could be malicious where they might not like you and they set you up for failure.
So be it.
Absolutely. And I'm going to whiz through these comments here and then move on to the next subject. So Claudia says the 3 doesn't know she is a 3 because she is getting attention from a 9. There is no barometer. That's fair. But I still say the accountability is on the 3. Women think smashing is equal to value that equates to relationship quality. especially if it's happening often with more than 1 9. And again, that's fair. But again, I would say the sample size, to your point, Miguel, I mean, at a certain point, you're a 3. You have a conscious awareness, and you've had that for the majority of your life, right? And then what really happened was 1 9 was given access in a very easy way, obviously, right? And then he told another 9, like, hey, you might want to, if you have a lonely night type of thing.
Why don't we give Banks this scenario? See what he thinks.
What's the scenario?
Go ahead, Big Mike.
All right, so you got a chick. She's a 3, right? Solid 3.
That's never gonna happen. But all right.
Not you, Banks. Someone is a chick, a woman is a 3 or whatever,
Okay.
like that. A 9 starts coming around or whatever, and he starts smashing and whatnot. Her, and I don't know anything beyond that, but he's smashing and whatnot. Now the 6 who've been interested in her, he tried to get at her, and she tell him, but because she been dating this 9, now she tell him you got to work a little harder now or whatever like that. And he starts to, he said, go above and beyond and do certain things. Now her head is even bigger or whatever. Whose fault is it, the 9 or the 6's that her head blew up like it was,
Or the 3,
or the chick herself? Yeah,
the accountability, Banks.
You're asking whose fault, and the guys are the. Is it the guys that are the 3, or she's the 3?
She's the 3.
She's the 3, and she has the 3 different guys that basically.
There's 2 different guys. Yeah.
2 different guys.
Yeah.
One guy, let's say one guy, the 6 is a beta male, let's say, right? And the 9 is an alpha male, for example, right? Or high value male, whatever you want to call it.
And she's attractive?
She's a 3.
No, she's a 3.
She's a 3. So why is the high value with her then?
That's the point, exactly.
Well, this is a scenario that we ended up in. If it happened, my point is that that's not expected, but that don't mean it didn't happen. Like anything, like you smashed it. Like I would never do that. I don't know why I did it, but I did it, and it is what it is. So in this scenario, that's what happened. So
in that scenario, I think she is delusional because all she needs to do. I mean, to solve it, all she needs to do is just go to that high value guy and start talking about a relationship. Like, oh, do you see anything future? And then she'll get her realistic answer. Because and when it comes to that, I feel like women tend to equate like the ability of men being in their inbox and like, hollering at them, trying to get their attention, when it's more of like a physical approach, but not really like a connection. And when it comes to the actual connection piece of like, oh, I want something more, there's your answer. And once you start getting that, no, I don't want to do that. No, I'm good. Or you don't get that text back. I think that that's when reality strikes. That's all you have to tell a woman. You don't even have to tell her anything about her looks. Just say, go back to the list of whatever and just bring that up to the rotation you might have or whatever.
I mean, that I agree with. That'll definitely crush her dream to put her right back into where she, actually is or whatever. I agree.
Oh, that Keisha Cole coming out. That Adele,
correct.
That Adele, Keisha Cole, Mary J. Blige is going heavy.
If he keeps smashing with no conversation, Banks, all I'm saying is I feel like that's what's blowing her head up or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but she got to realize it's just that transaction. Most likely, he's not taking her out.
That's what I did say that. Yeah,
most likely he's not taking her out. He's not really doing anything. It's just more. It's like a transactional thing.
Absolutely.
She's just using that as like a, it's like, oh, he's really into me. But what have you guys done?
Absolutely. And to close point at Mike, that's women's logic. And that's it in its essence, right? If he's a 9 and he's smashing a 3, and she now thinks she's able to pull a 9, so her experience is skewed. To me, this is the culmination of the ranking scale. So the universal scale and the subjective scale. So universally, you know better, but subjectively, you're going to lie to yourself. That's personal responsibility.
The thing is that it's a lot of people lying. But it's your responsibility to find the truth.
And the truth will empower you 1,000%, but you got to look the truth in the face and be like,
you got to be aware. That awareness is solely your responsibility. Somebody tells you like, Oh, you go there and be like, you're short, or you're tall, or you're fat, or you're ugly.
Absolutely.
Like, you showed up as you were, right? Be that. It don't matter. But nobody wants to do that. What we want to do is look at the person who said it. It's the same thing. It's like, yo, we're not looking at the person who caused the problem. We're looking at the person who reacted. That is lacking accountability.
Okay, move forward. Whatever.
Absolutely.
Agree to disagree. Yes.
All right.
And then if nines don't give any validation to these women, they wouldn't have inflated ego. Like men who are 3 know where they stand. However, again, we even said this naturally in the conversation. So a 3 is also a 3 because of her body physique, respectfully. So it's her face and her body that has her as a universal 3. However, as we talked about KG and Big Mike before Banks got here, if that 3 has a body of a 9, Banks, where does she rank?
Like if her face wasn't good, but her body was great.
Yes.
She'll probably get some more points just because of that.
Yes.
But I feel like another thing that some women don't realize. So, for instance, if we use that scale, like she may not be as attractive in the face, but she's in great shape. And let's say she has some sort of allure to her when it comes to style, personality, how she carries herself, and in a sense uses the Cleopatra approach, then she can get 9s easily because she's interesting and she's in shape as well. And I think that's the twist in regards to how women can play it, even if they might not be as attractive, but they have these other things that adds on to their particular value. But in most cases, when women are 3s, that's not the case at all.
Usually
They're just 3s all around.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. Go ahead, KG.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, we don't see it that way either. Like, she's ugly, but her body crazy. You don't even see a 3. You see a 6.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you
know what though? I've been talking for years. I think that's a problem though. And whether it's workout or surgery or whatever, I think you're right. But the problem is that they look in the mirror, like face to face, and they see a 6 or 8 or whatever it is, stuff like that. I think that like it is a shame, because like Banks said, the filters, right, and the crazy amount of makeup and stuff like that, and these are the pictures that they're posting. So when they see that picture themselves, even though they're really not that attractive or whatever like that, just because they got a nice body, they done lost all logic of what they actually look like, and that's been happening for years. I feel like whatnot. So I don't know if it's our fault. Not our fault. I mean, like I'm saying, because at one point the face meant more. Let's say like 90s movie stars, whatever, than the body, stuff like that. But now it seems like socially the face means less and less and less for a lot of guys or whatnot.
Yeah, don't get it twisted, Big Mike. Like, Aaliyah's still bad.
Trust me, yeah, I know.
she ain't Meg. Like, if you take Aaliyah's face and put her on Meg's body, like, it's a different situation. You know what I mean? Like, so times change, right? I guess. Sounds like we're up.
Times change. Definitely, I agree, but it also affected the confidence level for, let's say, the not so attractive women facially, or whatever like that, or whatnot. Because it's almost like that's not important or even as important at all. Because when you say a chick is bad, how much? Let's say bad, right? Baddie or baddie. How much of that do you actually? How much of that scale is put to her face? How much is put to the body when you say if she's a baddie or bad?
Yes.
I feel like if she's bad, I feel like that really equates to her face.
Okay, that's you. See, right, that's you. KG.
All right, I don't use that word very much, right? But if I use the word, it's like love, like I mean it. You know what I'm saying? So if she's bad, she got both.
That's fair. And I would say it definitely has to do with the purpose of why you're in that situation. Because if it's just for short term, and short term as in like an hour, and that's it, then I may or may not see you again, probably not. then your scale is going to be a different scale.
Right.
But as we know, as gentlemen, right, with value, you're not going to give someone who only really can inspire short-term attention from you versus someone who can inspire long-term attention. They don't equate regardless of what they look like, but it does matter what they look like. But certain energy requires certain things. So let's just say she is an 8, face and body, both an 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, she got the 8 body from being, let's say, from plastic surgery. So for me, the mentality is different. So for me, that's automatically short term, regardless.
I got a quick question, just a quick. So on a one and done, right?
Mm-hmm.
You only get one. Either body's a 10 or face is a 10.
Body 10, because it's a one and done. Don't matter.
One and done. 10 body? Kidding me.
If it's literally a 1 and 10, I'm gonna go with the body 10. Obviously, I might even see her face. Like,
Exactly. And you may pretend it's somebody else. So let's be honest. Go ahead, Banks.
I think the body, because if it's one, I speak for this. If it's one, I think the body might matter because I might not really pay attention, but I'm gonna feel weird. It's me. I feel weird. Like if she doesn't if she doesn't look as attractive as I want her to be, mentally I feel weird about it. But if it's like that, then I'm like, all right, whatever. I can deal with it. But I don't know. It's just something. It's something different when she has the whole package, though.
Absolutely. And I hope
that's when they bad. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't feel like you can be bad if you're lacking in one area. Like, it don't make sense. You know what I'm saying? That's like saying, oh, you a high value dude, but are you high value if you're in debt? Like, you make a lot of money, but you spend more than you make. It's not high value. So if she bad, she bad.
I agree with KG. I agree with you wholeheartedly. But we all know, like, especially let's say social media, a lot of chicks out here that their page is getting shared, people are saying it's bad. But just look at their faces sometimes or whatever like that. And people have a different thought process. But a lot of men these days don't really take an actual look. Like, when last time I heard somebody say, damn, she got a great smile. You don't hear that shit no more. I never really focus on her body and something like that.
I think this is where the comedian says when you see a girl in that 1 to 10 category, that's when you rub one out in the bathroom and go back. And would you make that decision? Probably not.
Yeah, post-nut clarity is, it's a gift. You know? Imagine if you started with that level of awareness. It's probably the better way to be.
I agree with that.
Exactly. And Lil Moran.
But if you did that every day, a 9 would never smash a 3.
Exactly.
But neither would a 6.
Exactly. Or 5 or 4. Maybe not even a 3. Because sometimes, as gentlemen, right? Because how a value is assessed in the modern world, a 3 as a guy who could be in debt, right? Could potentially be a 9 with hard work.
So you're implying that a woman can't go from a 3 to a 9.
Well, again, for me, it's unless it's, let's say, al natural via your route in the gym and working hard and having consistent habits that lead you to certain results, as opposed to the shortcut, which could be plastic surgery, things like that.
But you always gonna have a 3 face, though.
With plastic surgery, you can change that.
Wow.
For sure.
Or I think, are you saying, Josh, that the things that move up a guy's scale are the same things that move up a girl's scale?
That as well.
That's true.
Okay.
That's true.
All right. Got you. Okay.
And Close says, y'all may also be assuming the 3 only smash 1 9. If she has multiple 9s, she definitely doesn't know she's a 3. However, if she's only had multiple 9s, could be 2.
It's true.
Or 3. It's probably under 10, right? So it as long as the ratio of higher value men versus equal or lower value. And to me, I feel like it also depends on the type of attention you get. So again, that has to do with your awareness, or you're going to have delusional realities.
So what happens if we flip it? A dude that's a 3 smash a few chicks that's a 9. Does he think he's a 9? No. He thinks that he can bag him, no? You follow what I'm saying?
True.
You know what I mean? He don't be like, nah, I'm dissing the 3rd. He be like, nah, I got the gift of gab. I got something to like. And that's it.
And then as he gets older and more experienced, he'll know exactly who his target demographic would be to use that gift of gab to bag.
Accountability. He's not gonna be like, oh, well, they made me think that I'm a 9.
For a guy, I think it'll be more like Josh is kind of saying, more like target. No, I agree. I like more. I think it'll be like okay, if that gift of gab has got him that 9, it's almost like Jay-Z said, I sold kilos of coke. I'm guessing I can sell CDs, right? So if I could get the 9, if I get the gab, everything underneath, it's like this is like child's play, whatever like that. So I definitely get what Josh is saying on that.
So it's the same, like it. So how would he not be then? Like he's not being like faulted. He doesn't look at it like he's wrong. You don't look at the 9s when they're females and you tell them that, oh, they gassed him up. He's not gassed, right?
I mean, it's different because he's pursuing them in a way, I guess, or whatever like that. So he's. I mean, yeah, okay, yeah, we're assuming that. I think we just use it differently, right? I think the guy would use it, like I said, as like, yo, I know if I get this, I can now get like what I know if I got this 9, this 6, I got no chance or whatever like that, right? And whatnot. I think a woman looks at it more like the guy 9's giving me attention. Now I think I should be able to get 8 or better, stuff like that.
And that's fair. And I guess it also goes back to what we all kind of agreed on, is that women don't know how to assess the scale. Right, because he could be 3 in appearance to her subjectively, regardless of the universal scale. However, the way that, let's say, 9s and 10s that she idolizes to be like are giving him attention, that knocks off the game as well. It throws it into chaos because she's like, okay, he's getting attention from them, and I'm not getting attention from him. But even we're equal on the scale. We're both physically 3s. So it shows that men's value isn't the physical, as Chloe was alluding to. To me, that's more pertinent to the ladies, which I think their sex is more aligned with beauty in terms of creation and life. But that's just me.
Man, I mean, I hear you. Like I said, we're good to disagree, whatever like that. But I think overall, man, if the dude is giving any attention, it's definitely. I mean, again, it's her fault for taking it the wrong way. So we agreed there. But I think it's definitely making her change her thoughts of herself or whatever.
In a very illogical manner. Thank you, Miguel.
I agree with that.
Women don't get rejected as much, so they may not know. Again, just got to do the math, ladies. And so our next topic is dealing with nagging women. So as I like to do, I think it's important to show a bit of clips to give some clarity of what gentlemen say when they mean nagging.
You're saying, well, that you're saying we are 50% wrong. That's right. They are 50% wrong too. That's in that case. So we need a mutual understanding. We don't need to become slaves to them.
Well, we can't get any understanding until we accept our share of the responsibility. The black man has always been picked up by everyone and talked about why he's wrong, what he's doing that's not correct, and how he has left us and mismanaged his family. But we've never examined why he has left us. He's left us because we are too hard to get along with.
Why the fuck is you recording, pussy?
Because you're gonna be salty as shit after you done talking, so I want to record this so you can keep watching this shit.
How the fuck I'm gonna be salty? You fucking sneaky as shit. Texting my sister talking about I'm about to pull up. Pussy.
It was a whole reason behind that. Just let me know when you done talking so you can be salty.
No, ask me if I'm done again, and I'ma stab you. You really gonna be done? You be going, pussy.
So you gonna stab me?
Stab
Is you serious? Is you done talking though?
All right, I'm done.
Is you done?
I'm done.
Okay, Miss Hype Ass. When I was texting your sister telling I'm gonna pull up, that's because we were surprising you with a brand new fucking car because your wheels fell off last week when you was on your way to work.
Why you ain't just say that then?
Oh, I ain't just say that.
I'm sorry.
No, ain't no just sorry.
Because it looked
sneaky. It's not no sneaky. Fuck is you talking about? Now you salty as shit now.
Okay.
Say you sorry to my fucking sneaks that you just cut up. Say you sorry to my Gucci shirt you bleached and you know I only had one Gucci shirt.
I'll buy you another one.
No, that's not gonna be not give me a kiss. Go get my fucking 2K a kiss outside. That's half a disc now.
Oh my God, I'll order another one.
No, I'm cool, yo. Watch out. I'm cool.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another morning with Promise. Hope you're feeling blessed this morning. For those that are new to this is where we share a short 2-minute video sharing from the Book of Wisdom, otherwise known as the Book of Proverbs, written by the wisest king that ever lived, King Solomon, who asked God for one thing. He never asked for more money, fame, or power. When God said to him, "Ask me anything, I'm going to give it to you." Now, what he did ask for was more of God's wisdom and more of God's knowledge, because he understood that's what it takes to really be successful in this life. So obviously that's why we have the Book of Proverbs, so we can share in that wisdom, so we can live successful lives too. So let's really get into this. For those taking notes, we're reading from chapter 19, verse 13, and it reads this: "A quarrelsome wife is like a constant dripping." Okay? So Solomon is saying here, if you're a wife right now, if you're someone who is married, if you're someone who's in a relationship, and they talk to you guys too, okay? If you're someone who's always actively looking for an argument, you're just like a constant drip. Okay, like nobody wants to hear the tap dripping all the time, because after a while it becomes frustrating. All right, it's that annoying thing that's always in the background. Okay, it's that thing that's not pleasant to hear. Okay, and that's what a quarrelsome partner or quarrelsome wife, let's really talk to wives here, Solomon is, that's what it becomes. Now understand this, all right? If you're a school teacher, you wouldn't set off the day saying, you know what, I'm going to pick faults with everything my pupils do. I'm going to tell them how rubbish they are. I'm going to tell them how noisy they are, how disobedient they are. No, if you're going to be a great teacher, you'd have to encourage them. Okay, that's what gets the best out of them. If you're a boss, you wouldn't go in and go, you know what, every day I'm going to tell my workforce how rubbish they are. Knowing if you did that, you're not going to get the best out of them. So why is it that we get into marriage, and I've seen it, okay, in marriages out there, where all a wife ever does is argue how bad her husband is. All a wife ever does is talk about all the things he doesn't do right. How about stopping for a moment, okay, just for one moment, and saying all the things that he does do right? What about saying all the things that he's done in the past? How much you appreciate him, how much you're grateful for him. How about doing that? Find it, because let me show you something. There is good in each and every one of us, okay? And what happens is, when you get married, it's not a license, okay, to become the detective for all the things that you do wrong. I'm going to pick faults in everything you do wrong. Why is that not your job? Your job was meant to be an encourager, a supporter of your husband. And husbands, obviously, this is the same thing, but obviously Solomon's focusing on women here. So my encouragement is this. Wives, if you're out there and you want your marriages to flourish, don't be quarrelsome. Look to be an encourager. Look to be someone who finds the good in their husband. All right? And I guarantee you'll find the blessings in your marriage, and you'll find the blessings in your husbands too. All right? So God bless you. And as we always say with Gen Hope, God's gift to us is life. What we do with that life is our gift back to God. So go out there and be blessed, but more importantly, go and be a blessing. Wives, especially to your husbands. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. And even though that was a positive message, some of the ladies perhaps may be triggered, not necessarily the ones in the chat. Let's say ladies in general who are watching or watching the playback. So for those in the back, I'm going to say a little louder and how important this topic is.
Why are you always watching the Oscar trial?
Love, it's just almost done.
But you keep on watching the stage.
I know, it's almost done. This is getting interesting.
This thing plays all day.
Nagging, an irritating habit or a serious health hazard. According to a study done by the University of Copenhagen, nagging could shorten your life, particularly if you're a man. Nearly 10,000 men and women between the ages of 36 and 52 were tracked over a decade. And during that time, 196 women and 226 men died from cancer, heart and liver problems. The study believes that they could in part have been killed by high-stress relationships, and that nagging can be a sign of trouble.
When we have stress, it can then become a problem with our health as well. Nagging can ultimately break down one's immune system and compromise a person physically.
The Danish study suggests that men are more affected because they don't talk about their frustrations, choosing rather to bottle them up.
It's not to say that men don't nag their wives, but I think we're very much focusing on wives being dissatisfied with their husbands. Women are nagging because they don't feel that their men are performing in the way they expect them to. And that's where men sometimes need support. And I think one of the things that came out of the survey was that men don't always have the social networks to help them to be the best men that they could be.
And out in the streets of Johannesburg, it seems men agree that being nagged makes for a stressful life.
Actually, no, it affects negatively. And I don't want someone who's nagging.
Why?
I don't want someone who's nagging because I'm short-tempered. So I just make sure I put the rules clear. And then if she starts nagging, then I get crossed.
You get stressed and could turn to drinking. Is that not so?
But whether you are being nagged or doing the nagging, it's a stressful business.
I also get physically drained. I cook, I clean, and sometimes he's off. He doesn't even make the bed. You get home, you make the bed, cook, wash the children's clothes. That also gets to you because you're tired from work and there's no one to help you.
Constant arguments are a sign that both you and your partner are frustrated and unhappy. Experts say nagging could be a warning bell that you need to get help. It may not only save your relationship, it could also save your life.
No more. ENCA.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience. So I asked a very simple question to start off. Is it a healthy environment to live with a nagging woman as a gentleman?
No.
Any reason why?
It's about peace, bro. You got to recharge. You can't recharge if you constantly dealing with that. That ain't it.
Yeah, I would say no. It's definitely not healthy. I think they hit the nail on the head. It's a stressful environment, and an environment that you don't want to be at. You know what I mean? And when I say want to be at, I mean like you dread coming home from work or dread like the weekends or something like that. Because if you know that's happening, if that's your regular life with a woman.
Banks?
I feel like it's an environment, especially with men, that they specifically choose to not want to be around. Like just to deal with that consistently of somebody just constantly pushing you and tapping your shoulder and like, oh, what about this? How come you didn't do that? It's just draining and you don't want to deal with it. And then I feel like even when it comes to your personality, when you find somebody or you're at work or you're outside and you find somebody different that talks to you and never argues with you, and then all of a sudden you find yourself talking to that person more, and then it gets into a whole different scenario because you finally found that peace. And at the end of the day, most men will go for that peace factor. And even when it comes to that scale, that number scale, if they can find peace in that 5, but that 8 is giving them all hell, there is a chance they might go for that 5 just because they're giving them peace. And that's all that matters at the end of the day, especially if you're going to be with them for a long time.
By the way, for ladies who never had any idea besides their parents why, not necessarily people here, but the gentlemen in general have, let's say, interest in prostitutes, it's that reason. Because they get that peace without any strings attached. And they only have to exchange money. So it's kind of like buying, a canned good at a supermarket and going home.
Canned goods don't usually expire either. They keep them for a while.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
But I guess what's so interesting for me is that I feel like growing up, especially with entertainment and media, you always have that trope of the nagging wife, and that's usually used as a comic relief. It's comical and it's expected. It's normal, right? But as we see, it's a very potentially dangerous thing, and we can see how things like nagging could potentially lead to domestic violence. And now, of course, none of us are condoning any type of that negativity, especially in terms of physically between either sex, right? For one or the other. However, things like that could create situations where things like domestic violence are prevalent, unfortunately, or anything like that, having a toxic relationship or just not being fulfilled having, you know, your perspective in life being negative, as that one gentleman said. So I feel like it's important, because when you have two people that come together, if they're not both at their, you know, at their best, let's say mentally, and it can obviously fluctuate at times, but when you have a overall, your due north is positive and you both unite in that, I think that's a wonderful thing, and I think that's the most important.
I agree.
And then for, let's say, the gentleman, what can men do to either stop a nagging woman or disrespectful woman, as the comment said, or prevent yourself from even being with one?
Red flags, man, they're there. You know what I mean? Pay attention to them. Don't put pleasure over principle.
I mean, I said in the beginning, for sure, definitely red flags. I said he's already in the relationship, and that starts to, if he sees her tendencies, what gets her to that point of nagging, he could try to avoid that if he can. You know, if it's something that, like, she asked him to take out the trash, and he always waits till the last minute till the trash man already outside. Just take it out the day before. You know what I mean? Some ways you can kind of avoid stuff like that.
Thanks.
I think if the person's worth it, you can find ways to compromise to help lessen those particular trigger points. But I feel like another thing is, if there's like a consistency, then therapy.
I think that some people are just like that, men or women, but we're talking about women in this instance. They're just combative. You know what I mean? They haven't found their peace, or maybe they found out what their actual ranking is. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes there's some people, like, I know, to you guys' point, you guys say, you know, you can combat it, or if it's worth it, deal with it. But I mean, sometimes people just, that's how they are. And I've run into that where, like, yo, there's really no, maybe it is a pleasing you, but I'm not looking for it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just people in some instances. I can't imagine, like, watching that video, like, what will be worth that?
Oh, that was beyond nagging. She was delusional and tripping, and she was also like, a criminal. She was breaking all her stuff up. She was a whole lot of things, whatever, like that. So yeah, that is a dismissal, whatever. I mean,
therapy.
Yeah, nah.
Not group therapy. That's individual therapy.
Yeah,
no, therapy. Yeah, she needs therapy.
Oh yeah, she needs it, but she needed it without me or whatever. Like,
right.
Yeah, and I just imagine, like, how could this ever be a healthy living condition? Like, imagine living with someone that is talking so much and so irrationally, as unfortunately some ladies who are emotional tend to communicate, to the point where you can't even hear yourself think.
Yeah.
That's
Also, when I said about knowing their tendencies, that goes both ways too, though. So for the woman as well, like, if you ask your man to fix something up in the house, and you know how he moves, you know he the guy that might want to analyze, think about it, talk to his other friends about it, and then he'll do it a few days later. Don't come the next day like, you ain't fixed this new rack yet, but that's not how he normally does things. So again, figure out their tendencies so you can kind of avoid those situations.
Absolutely. And as that gentleman said in the clip, you know, if you have let's say if you have a 9 to 5 and your boss is a micromanager, so you're essentially getting nagged at work, and then I gotta come home and get nagged as well. It's just like, yo, come on. Like, out of all people in the world, you're supposed to understand that. It's like, you're not.
But to KG's point, though, like, the red flags, they normally show up, though. Like, you don't, like, if you always in a whole relationship, marriage with kids, and they just start nagging, that's really unlikely. They probably been nagging and whatnot. So, you know, you gotta, if that's not something that you can do, you gotta get out before you get that deep or whatever. So.
Absolutely. And again, for the ladies in the back who may not understand how important Not nagging is to men. This is a helpful clip to illustrate the point.
I've given you the best years of my life. You've got no drive, no ambition. That's your trouble.
Right, this is a hold-up. Get back. Come. Anybody moves, she gets it.
Just an FYI. So as we transition to the free game for young men, right? Young and developing, probably freshmen in college, thinking, they have a chance with all the baddies on campus. So the first question is, if I am working towards building my wealth, like getting, great grades and thinking about things like entrepreneurship, should I get a prenup with my significant other if we are thinking about marriage?
You said freshman in college?
Absolutely. Or let's say between 18 and 29.
Don't get
And
married.
they're like engaged already, or they're just like boyfriend and girlfriend?
Let's just say engaged. Let's say boyfriend and girlfriend between 18 and 24. Let's say engaged between 25 and 29.
And you're saying that they're in pursuit of but haven't reached their goal.
Yes.
My advice would be don't. If you feel you need a prenup, don't marry her. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with prenups, but at that point in your life, if you're weighing those two things, don't weigh them. Stick to your goals.
I would say get one. I would say that, if you know where you're about to go, even though you haven't gotten there yet, and then because you've been focused on these goals for however amount of time and whatnot, and the money that you're about to be making and stuff like that, and you know that she knows, right? So I feel like that you should just get one because, again, if you are in that level or bracket, or at least about to be, there's nothing wrong with a little protection. I don't feel like nothing wrong with that.
My thing is to add on to KG's point. My thing is, if you feel like you need to do it with that person, I feel like this is just the automatic indicator of you not really being sure that this is the right person for you. Because I feel like you're just giving yourself an opportunity or a loophole for whenever something goes wrong, or if you feel like something goes wrong on your particular end, that person's going to leave you. And if you have that in your head, that's basically, I feel like your gut basically saying, this ain't the one. And don't get me wrong, like if you want to do that, that's on you. But I feel like if you have to do that, I feel like there's usually a reason why. Because if you have somebody that's completely solid and you have conversations where you decide to go and, take that next step, the point is to be with that person through better or worse and
For the rest of your life.
for the rest of your life. So regardless of the prenup or whatever, I mean, the money that you make is for the better half of your family, which is your spouse and then your children and whatever. So that whole prenup thing, I think those are just indicators or triggers to show that you really shouldn't really be with that person.
That's interesting. And Key also agrees if you're going to be married or thinking about a prenup or divorce, you shouldn't be getting married. And again, that's interesting because usually that's the perception of the prenup, is that you automatically equate it with the divorce, which is fair. That's where prenups come into play. That's when they become activated. However, there's different types of prenups, and the prenup ultimately guarantees the well-being of that significant other more so than the marriage contract.
Mm-hmm. Don't do it.
So would you get one or no, Josh?
Oh yeah, I would definitely get one because it also protects your significant other's assets as well. Like they may not be, laying on the couch, lounging around doing nothing. They might be also building their own business, so that protects their assets just in case someone else is lazy, right? And then takes the other person for granted, because that does happen as well.
Yeah, I guess there is this negative connotation, I guess, what Banks and KG are saying, but with the prenup itself or whatever like that. But I don't think it has to be negative. If that means you're not going to be with it forever, not going to get divorced. But I don't think there's nothing wrong, like I said, with just, like Josh said, to protect you, to protect her. Everybody's protected. We may live forever. We never need it, but there's nothing wrong with it being on file. Anyway, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I could appreciate the perspective. I just look at it like, you know, what's really the point, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, just in case we go our separate ways, I want to protect my assets. I'm like, well, you don't really need to get married, bro. Like, there's nothing that makes that mandatory. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever.
Well, you have the whole thing about marriage itself, so I get where you're coming from.
Well, I mean, in this argument, regardless of my perspective on it, it's like, well, if you feel like I need to make sure that we protect our assets from each other, like, you don't have to get married. You still have your relationship is going to be exactly the same. If you feel like you need to protect your assets and your stuff in case things go wrong, you can just not do that and have the same exact relationship. Nothing changes.
Okay. That makes sense too. Just be with them still.
Still, you don't need to be married to buy a house or to have kids or to do any of that stuff. And you need to protect your assets. It's protected. You're an individual.
So is that how you feel, Banks, as well? Like, would you still be with them for many years then and not marry them? Or not?
I think if it comes to that point, there's really we would have to go our separate ways. There's no reason to get married. If I feel like I have to do that with that person, like I need to initiate like a prenup or whatever, I feel like this is subconsciously telling me that I should not be with that person.
So you guys think a little differently about it. Okay.
That's completely fair. And I understand the logic. So I appreciate that, fellas, really do. And then the next question is, if my girlfriend, side piece, or wife are pregnant, do I always get a paternity test or is it disrespectful? And before you guys answer, of course I have a clip.
I think that testing needs to be mandatory. It's like people.
Wow.
It should be mandatory because it's like
you're not slinging your dick around that you won't be scared about.
Right.
Who's pregnant by
It's not about us.
You may have a partner right before me.
Exactly.
I think that the United States making DNA testing mandatory is stupid. I don't think that, it's something that if you feel like you need a DNA test, go do that on your own time because you feel that way. I don't think every person, there's millions of people in the United States. Like, it doesn't make sense that people could be using that time to do other things. Like, you could be saving a life. You could be in a hospital saving a life.
How much proof do you need?
So this is what I'm gonna say. I think that y'all want this to be mandated because of a conversation you are not strong enough to have with your girl. 1. 2, you requesting DNA, first of all, this is a very gendered question, right? There's no way for a woman, well, let me not speak for every woman. For me specifically, there's no way if my man came up to me, I wouldn't feel some type of offense. But fine, if you have the right to know whether it's your child or not, because I know this is my child, right? But to say that it's mandated is where I have a problem.
Who would like to go first?
I mean, is the question their question? Should it be mandated, or what? Or the question you asked?
Oh, we could do both, but the first question is it disrespectful?
I think it depends on the person.
Okay, go ahead, thanks.
I think it really depends on the person and their character. I feel like, I mean, with some people, I feel like it's just, I feel like with some people, you could just automatically tell with their actions and how they carry themselves in regards to their behaviors, how they present themselves in public, their social media. I think everything that they do as a collective, I think it could be disrespectful in regards to somebody. I feel like that stands tall. That stands tall in everything that they do, and then you question them. I think it could be that, but then I feel like in another scenario, for some people who can be a little bit finicky in regards to how they do things, how they present themselves in public, how they present themselves, if they shift their behaviors around their friends, strangers, people, they're secretive in certain instances, then I don't think it's necessarily disrespectful in that regard. But if you're in a scenario like that, I mean, you really shouldn't be getting into situations like that. But I really do think it depends on the person. But you can also, I feel like you can honestly tell if that's the case depending on the attributes of that person.
Wait, all right, cool. So, I don't think it's disrespectful. I think that she made a point. The woman made a point that you should be able to have your conversation with your lady, right? Um, but I really didn't even look at it whether it's disrespectful or not. I looked at it like, all right, so if it's mandatory or it's not mandatory, right? I mean, they already have your DNA. Like, it doesn't cost you anything if it's mandatory, right? I don't care. You know what I mean? I would assume if it were mandatory, like, why would a woman care? That's how I see it. Like, I don't. I'm not like, oh, I want a DNA test. Like, if it's mandatory, don't bother me. I don't think it's disrespectful. I don't think that. I think if you need to question it, then you should question it. It's like a prenup. If you need that, you probably shouldn't have got that far. You know what I'm saying? That's my take.
Yeah, I don't think it's disrespectful, but I think women will feel disrespected if, just by asking. Let's Josh's first question, by asking for the DNA test, right? I think it's, especially if it's like, if she done proclaimed you as the father, you done signed the paperwork and yada yada yada, and then you ask for the DNA test at that point, I think she will feel disrespected. But to Banks's point, it depends on the person, how they move, what made you ask for that test or whatever like that. So it's not disrespectful, but they will feel disrespected. As far as the mandatory thing, kind of like you said, KG, they already got your DNA, right? So if they say whoever signed this document as the father, we're gonna run a DNA test to make sure. I don't think nobody should have a problem with that, the man or woman or whatnot. Like, it's just standard procedure at that point or whatever like that. So unless she was creeping, and the way them four were arguing about it, I was like, well, why did the problem, if you had the baby with the guy and the government mandates it, why would it be an issue? And one girl like, we could be saving lives. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Whatever. So that was like a guilty response.
That's the one you asked to take the test.
She needed.
Right. Exactly. She's like, we can be doing anything. We can do anything anytime. Like, that's dumb, or whatever like that. So, yeah. So mandatory, I'll be okay with. Other way, if you need to ask, you gotta ask. It's not disrespectful, but
you gotta ask.
I don't care when or how you ask. Every woman's gonna feel disrespected. It is what it is.
That's interesting because I guess from my perspective, I feel like if it doesn't apply, how could they get offended? From my perspective. So I kind of equate it to things like if your significant other, especially if you're on these terms like, oh, let me see your phone. And if you're not doing anything, there's nothing to find. So that's how I look at the DNA test in this perspective, let's say.
Well, if you had to do a drug test, right? But you don't take drugs, you don't care about a drug test one way or the other. You're not like, that's my private urine. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't care. But if you are on drugs, you don't want to take a drug test.
Correct. Yeah, the ones who don't, the jobs they go, they right away. The ones who do, they get in panic mode, right? So it's a little different.
Fact.
Exactly. This is why I feel like, stranger things may happen because this is a okie doke. This is an old school game from way back. Been pimping since been pimping, right? And one of the gentlemen alluded to it. So I don't know who you were dating before me. I don't know what type of relationship y'all had and what y'all was doing. However, there are some ladies, not saying all, right? But there are some ladies who consciously do that. And if you're not one of those ladies, why is it a big deal, right? Usually one of those ladies, as you guys talked about, which sounded like that lady who was talking about it, you might need to, run a DNA test type of thing, especially in America, Well, where the stats allow it to be entertainment for things like, you know, Maury or Jerry Springer. This is how often these things can happen.
Agreed.
And Claude Dis says mandatory DNA tests will have a lot more men on child support, period. I don't think mandating it would be for long. Government getting involved in people's personal business would backfire. True. It depends on who it is. If it's someone that you creeping with on the sneak tip, then it's not disrespectful. Okay, that's fair. Little Mermaid says, listen, you need to wrap it up if you ever feel that you could question that person. And that's fair, but let's not forget, and it says it on the label, that condoms are not 99, they're not 100% effective, nor is birth control for the lady. So it could still happen. As they say in Jurassic Park, life finds a way. If it's your, and Key says, if your significant other is disrespectful. Okay, that's fair. And Little Mermaid says, you definitely shouldn't be getting into situations like that. Okay. And she says at Chloe, or mandatory DNA testing would get a lot of men out of child support, which is interesting. And I agree with that as well, because in certain states, even if you're not the biological father, if you're in that young child's life for a certain amount of time, guess who's on the line for child support? To keep it real with women out there, be lying 1,000%. However, I don't think it should be mandatory. So it's kind of like Gold Digger by Kanye West, by the original Kanye, you know, OG Kanye. 18 years and found out it wasn't his. What? Yeah, all right. And you're monetarily liable for that, which is why I think conversations like prenups are mandatory. If you have to ask for the DNA test, you shouldn't be knocking her off raw, 1,000%. And yeah, that would appear to be disrespectful to people who are being straight up, allegedly. That part. Key says pregnancy shouldn't be your biggest concern. Chloe says it implies she is promiscuous and stepping out. If she isn't the type of person, of course, she is going to feel disrespected, basically accusing her of cheating and lying at the highest level. And that's a fair perspective. However, conversely, one could be like, okay, if you're asking for the DNA test, this is proving what you say is true, which is another perspective, logically speaking. Key says it's definitely not that simple. Chloe says depends on why they ask you to take a drug test. Like it just all the black people getting tested, it implies something in its context. That's fair. Key says, as a woman, the government has no business minding my business. That's fair. Hell no to mandatory DNA test. And MJ says government mandated is different than my significant other asking for a DNA test. That's fair. That's him questioning my morality and loyalty to him and the relationship. A heavy conversation would be had. This says also, if it's your wife, you're going to find out eventually anyway that she's scheming. If a woman keeps a baby, she knows it isn't yours. That's the type of woman you chose. However, as we talked about, if a certain lady has a certain feature that you met with her now, but before, due to plastic surgery, it looked differently, like a nose, and you have a child, as we talked about, that comes out that doesn't look like you, you might want to know whose child this is if it doesn't look like you, based upon your reality at that time. To me, I feel like it's the most legal way to vindicate someone and confirm what they're saying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I'm sorry, KG, real quick. Even to Chloe's point, right? That's toxic, right? She's saying as if your wife, you're going to find out eventually. What if you find out eventually is not yours? Now you've put all this time into the kid, and the kid thinks you're his dad, and it's like a whole different. Now this whole different thing happening over like so. You know, like I said, I do see how they would be disrespected if you ask them, but I just don't see where the mandatory gets much pushback. Like, they literally got your DNA already. You just had a baby. It's right. A really quick test. I don't understand why they would. That big of a deal.
Right. Imagine if the father who was there at the time of giving birth, right, had to pass a DNA test in order to sign the birth certificate. That would make things look drastically different. And I would say more accountability for the liable people. And Claudis says vindication assumes guilt, and perhaps maybe from the perspective of someone who views it as disrespect, maybe not from the gentleman. So that's food for thought. What do you think, Banks? You awfully quiet over there. You pondering something. I feel like you're about to say something real wise. What you got?
I mean, I feel like just back to what I originally said. I just really feel like it just depends on the person and the situation you're in. I mean, would I don't know. I really just think it just really depends on the person and the person that you're dealing with, and the actions, the things that they do, how they act around different people. If you see any shifts or changes, then I feel like um, your assumption is warranted, but it really does depend on the person you're dealing with.
So, what I do, I use like it's called TBV. It's just trust but verify. Like it's not that I don't believe you, but what's wrong with double checking, right? So, like to your point, Josh, about the phone thing, it's like yo, if you don't have anything to hide, you be like, I don't know, where is my phone? You don't really keep, unless you're one of those people that's in your phone all the time. But if you got like, there's really nothing to, my password type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, let me look in your phone is really not a problem. But like, oh, so what's the difference between that and this one? It's not that I don't believe. It's a pretty big thing. I just want to make sure.
Absolutely. Right. And for ladies, I'm sure if a man says, "Oh no, I don't want you to go through my phone," that's a red flag for y'all. So if he asks the question and there's that type of pushback, I think that might be a red flag for him potentially.
Just want to make sure. Hear a lot of horror stories. What's the big deal?
And you literally don't have to do anything extra because you already have your DNA, as Miguel said.
Yeah, with the mandatory especially. I agree with Banks more about that person as well. When the people in the comments are saying, like, if you got to act, so you shouldn't have had sex with that person. I mean, hindsight's 2020, right? So maybe when you slept with her back then, like, you didn't feel that way. But now you might have heard some new stories that came out. So I don't agree with that either. Like, you know what I mean? So, but.
Yo, talk about free game. You don't need her to do it if you really feel like it. You could just test the baby. She'll never know.
I mean, that too, yeah. That's facts too.
Like playing game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then it may add context to the pushback. And Claudius says pushback isn't the issue. It's the principle of the whole thing. Smokey, come on now.
I don't want you looking at my phone because it's my phone. It's the principle. Does that work?
The principality, well, I mean, I agree with that actually, but it's the principality of the thing.
I feel like you asking to look at my phone makes me think that you think that I'm doing something that I should. So I'm not gonna show you. Is it the same thing or no?
I would say yes, but perhaps some people would say no.
I would say yes. I mean, he kind of lost me a little bit on the me think that you think, but I get what he's saying. Whatever.
That's fair. Yeah, I just think obviously that conversation should probably happen before kids are even on the table, type of thing. Because I thought
the thing about the mandatory is that's why I don't know why there isn't any pushback, because that would avoid these conversations or whatever. We both know after the baby, this is what's happening. It's just, again, standard procedure. This whole government is my business. What is your business? The fact that they won't know who your actual dad is? Like, I don't understand. They don't know it anyway. Like, that's crazy.
Again, if you that concerned about it, then that might be a red flag. And then Claudius says she's still going to get the test. It comes back as yours. Then what? Then the truth is confirmed. Well, again, the whole point is to get to the truth, right? She's still going to feel disrespected. And okay, that's fair. But it's just to get to the truth, really.
She don't get over it. But I think men only ask like if there are other, like, it's not a standard ask. I think most men only ask if they heard things in the street, like KG said, or like Bank said, that person or whatever like that. I don't think the men just ask all the time and whatnot. So.
Absolutely. And if we're being honest, sometimes ladies will put on a certain facade that may not be accurate. And then, as you say, those truths do come out, and then a question would have to be asked.
Yeah.
Especially if the body is over 100. I mean, what? 100 miles, KG.
My guy, Banks, the one who was doing the horse and carriage rides. Remember? I was telling you about that dude or whatever like that. He found out that his daughter wasn't his. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Like some of stuff like that. I mean, that's not here or there. I don't know him. That's why I'm like that.
And
But
if you don't
found
mind me,
out her daughter wasn't his.
right.
So if you don't mind me asking, Big Mike, how long is he in for? Like how many years in?
So just real quick, his son was 6, his daughter was, I think, 3 or 2 or 3. He has sickle cell anemia. So when you have that, you most of the time you pass down that trait. So they wanted to test the kid. So he tested the son had the trait. Then he tested the daughter didn't have it. That was a red flag to his mother to say, I don't believe that she's yours or whatever. So then they went and got a DNA test, but the girl didn't know about it, like KG said, right? With the kid, turned out it wasn't his. And stuff like that. So then he brought it to her. She tried to lie, but he brought the actual test. She still tried to lie. And then finally, she said, a few years ago, we was going through something. I had a one-time fling, yada, yada, yada. That was the story.
And it's interesting because if that question was asked before, it would obviously be dealt with from the ladies in terms of disrespect. Because
He had a one-time fling and raw dogged it?
Apparently. KG, I don't know why that's
Come on, buddy. Now come on back.
Exactly. Come on now. And Claudia says the question is to get tested, or is there another reason, or just a standard? I would say standard protocol. So imagine if part of the birthing ceremony is part of that DNA process, and no one would know different. You would still have that beautiful moment with your new child together. However, perhaps at the time of birth or after that moment, it would get a piece of paper like, oh, sorry, this isn't mine. Bye. That's what would happen.
It is what it is.
Absolutely. 1000%. And do we have any other questions in the chat as we, moonwalk away from this topic? She found there's options like abortion. He knew he couldn't trust her.
You talking about the dude with sickle cell? Don't sound like he knew that. It sounded like he was just checking on the kids.
Yeah.
He got blindsided.
I mean, that's standard protocol, as Mike said, for people with sickle cell. So. All right, though, gentlemen and ladies in the chat, we appreciate you being there. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate it. It'll help the channel grow organically so we can have another wonderful conversation with amazing comments, which is always the goal here. So thank you, Big Mike. Thank you, Fresh Banks, for popping in. Of course, thank you, KG. Appreciate y'all, gentlemen.
Already.
All right.
All right, fellas, y'all take it easy.
All right, peace.
All right, man.
Sure, they got me brainless. Hey, and I don't understand it. Hey, I don't know. Yeah.
And then I made that connecting point where I was just like, hey, people already eavesdrop. If you're out here having dope ass conversations while you're lit, it's like, why not? Why not put it into a podcast? He makes podcasts. He's here outside of the city. Pick his brain. I'ma just be here.